Session 2, week 10 or so of the season. Season 2.
20 games in.
3-ball walk back in. And before we get to the ESPN thing.
Oh, I got one more thing. We started the first session with the best pitcher in college baseball.
Yeah.
How about the best pitcher in college softball?
We talked about her last week.
I know, but we need to talk about her again.
She's doing well.
She has a 43-inning streak without giving up an earned run.
It's disgusting.
43. That's 6 complete games in softball lingo.
Yeah.
43 innings since she's given up an earned run. That's a long time.
She gave up 2 hits the other day in the game.
She did, and they were both dinks.
Yeah.
I mean, it basically just put the bat out there and the ball
she's out
hit
there,
it.
no runs, but she gave up 2 hits.
Well, I know it's horrible. She felt bad about it. Her dad's probably on her about it. By the
2
way.
hits.
Having known
said
her dad's probably on top of her about it.
She just
Why
doesn't
you
want to
her 2
give up
hits?
walks.
No, she does not want to give up walks.
And she only struck out 9 Sunday.
Yeah, it was down a little bit, but she only pitched 5 innings, so she almost got to her 2 per inning average, which is what she's averaging right now.
She's
Pretty incredible.
Good.
So,
pretty incredible.
You know, hopefully she'll stay strong, and the Gators will continue to be number 1, and you guys all get to see her in Oklahoma City pitching.
It'll be fun. She's good. She's good. They're talking a lot about her.
And her name is, just in case people aren't watching.
Kelly Barnhill.
Kelly Barnhill.
Not watching, don't watch any Gators. They're watching this.
Her name starts with K, so
Kelly Barnhill,
she
that's
puts up a
right.
lot of K. She keeps
She
us
does.
busy.
She's
And
incredible.
you're the one who keeps them tallied in the stadium.
Sometimes me, sometimes other friends that do
But
it.
it's right in front of you.
But it is right in front
If
of
you
my
do
seat.
see the K corner,
Yeah,
he's
once it gets
sitting
to
right
about 12 or 13, then it's right in front of me. It takes a little while to get to me. But it's good. All right, so, baseball.
baseball. You know, we were sitting there talking about leaders and everything like that, and something Bob brought up: career active stolen base leader.
Yeah.
Did he tell you?
He did tell me, so I can't guess because I would
Who do
not
you guys
I
think
would
it
not have
is?
known it.
We'll give you 3 seconds, 2, 1, and it.
Ichiro.
Ichiro. And
Wow. I would not have guessed that if you'd given me 10 hours.
My guess was the second guy was Jose Reyes. And I was surprised how low Haley Ramirez was on the list. 'Cause I thought he'd be up there higher. But Ichiro.
He Billy Hamilton's been stealing a lot, and he's actually leading the league. What
How many does he have?
He has 10 right now.
10 through 20 games?
Mm-hmm.
So,
About 80.
That's
He's on pace for 80?
He had 60 last year.
Yeah.
Led the league with 60, and you know, is that a part of the game?
yeah.
That's what I wanted. You know,
It's
that's
not. We were talking about that when he came in. I was having trouble even thinking about somebody who steals more often than not, who tries to run. I just don't think you try anymore. No, teams don't try to steal bases like they did in the 60s and 70s, I think. We talked about Jackie Robinson changing the game.
Sure.
And that sort of changed it there. But, you know, somewhat.
Is it the long ball?
Well, I think so, and I think it's guys. Also, you don't get many guys who are speed guys in the league. Think about that. Who's really fastest person playing baseball right now?
I couldn't tell you.
You know, you don't have a guy like Ricky Henderson comes in. If you walk him, it's a double. Now you walk somebody, there might be a 2-run home run by the guy behind you who's sitting in the number 2 hole. Even your leadoff guys are not. There's no bunt game anymore. There's no drag bunt game. There's no speed game at all anymore. It's, you know, big guys going first to third and sometimes going from second to home, but it's really trying to hit 3-run homers. It's that.
And I watch it, and that's one of the things in the Altuve, Jose Altuve,
Yep.
I think leads in the other league. He's got 7.
Right.
You know,
He's
7 stolen bases through
20 games.
Well, also think about how many times people are
22
getting on
games.
base. You know, how many really good hitters are there?
Well, with the pitching
In
the way it
baseball.
is, you would think
Right.
that you'd play that more.
But you've got to get on base in order to be able to run, and you've got to have speed in order to run, and they're not.
And then when you do get someone on base, you don't want to risk him not being on base anymore.
Well, because the guy behind him can't handle the bat. I mean, nobody can handle the bat anymore. Who can you think of if I gave you 4 people and I said for a World Series title, which of those 2 people would you want to have at bat if you needed a sacrifice squeeze with a runner on third? Who would you pick?
I'd take Mike Trout.
Mike
For
Trout
a squeeze?
for a squeeze? I don't think he handles a bat that well. I'd take Ichiro.
Ichiro could do it.
Ichiro could do
Yeah.
it. But he would be my only
And
one.
Brett Butler.
Brett Butler would have been good. Yeah.
But he doesn't play anymore. He's not active.
He'd have
He's
been
not.
good.
He retired.
He's
retired.
been retired for a while.
Yeah.
That's the
He's
point.
he's having
You know,
terrible.
everybody now, and it's the same thing that happens in college baseball we were talking about. Everybody wants to be a home run hitter.
Yep.
Everybody wants to drop and drive
What?
and pull off
What
and
makes
hit
Sports
bombs.
Center?
Home runs, I know. But, you know, the thing is if a team ever, and nobody in the minor leagues are going to keep guys like that. Who's going to keep a speed guy in the minor league? They're not. They're going to find a guy that hits, you know, Tebow's still in the league hitting barely 240 because he's driving in runs and hitting home runs, playing in minor league ball. And I think there are a lot of people like that who they're trying to bring up to groom as power hitters who don't handle the bat very well anymore. The other night, they put the shift on and a couple of guys bunted, and they were complaining about it. I'm like, well, that's the way you beat the shift, is you bunt the ball and beat the shift. And they're like, yeah, but we want to see him drive, get to second here or drive in a home run. Why? The next guy up has to pick him up. If they're going to shift, then you make them pay.
Exactly right.
Can you imagine if they try to shift like that on, what's the guy's name that was at Kansas City,
George Brett?
George Brett.
Sure.
Can you imagine? He would have, Rod Carew would have ate him up. Rod Carew would have hit 600 if they'd have played a shift on him.
Completely.
Because he just flicked everything the other way.
But you don't play a shift on. I mean, those are done because of where people are.
But tradition. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No,
Cut you off.
you do it because of tendencies, batting tendencies.
Right.
You can't do it. Here's a spray chart on Rod Carew.
Right, but Rod Carew could handle the bat. If you told Rod Carew to go up there and try to hit home runs every time, he would not have had that spray chart.
Well,
The classic guy for the shift, the guy who basically invented the shift was Ted Williams. And Ted Williams would not go the other way. He said, I'm not going to do it because it develops bad habits. And he was criticized about it heavily during his career.
Wade Boggs is another.
Wade Boggs.
Why did you hear why Wade Boggs did not hit more home runs in his career?
Because he wanted a higher batting average?
Because Wade Boggs does not hit fly balls. That's
Okay.
what he said in the third person.
Now, somebody told me
It's line drives?
Yeah, he hits line drives.
that Ichiro supposedly can hit home runs whenever he wants, but he doesn't do it
because he doesn't hit fly
he
balls.
doesn't hit fly balls. Exactly right.
That fly ball's an easy out. If you miss it, you're out. I mean, I get that. So I think that some of that is we're not developing hitters like we used to. The pitching is better and harder. So, for some ways it's a little bit difficult to bunt the ball at 95, but I think it'd be...
Let's switch. We got about 6 minutes here, 6.5 minutes. ESPN, and it came. I mean, the rumors have been out, and it came out this morning. And by the time you watch this, it's already been out a little bit. But I want to start off because one of the guys that was in the industry that was really, really good to me wrote for the Philadelphia newspaper. And whenever I was in Philly or whenever the Phillies were in Miami or LA, we'd have like pregame meal and everything like that. Real good guy. Wound up doing little side gigs for ESPN, and eventually 17 years ago went over there. Jason Stark. And Jason's good with his trivia question every once a week on Mike and Mike and everything. He was one of the people let go. And I mean, people like that get jobs. So I mean, you don't worry about that kind of thing. But we can talk about ESPN and one of the things, I mean, it's become more about the production than the substance and different things.
Absolutely.
And the politics and just everything. And I know, but guys like Jason Stark can always get work. What is the future? And here's this is, you guys weren't ready for this, but what is the future of sports journalism now that the internet, idiots like us, can sit here, and if all of a sudden, if people watch this, all of a sudden more people and more followings. I mean, if you look at what's Will Greer's brother, I remember, was,
Instagram heroes, yeah.
And is the journalism field as we know it, is it going by the way of the blacksmith and the...
I think so. I really do, because I think, you say guys like him can get a job, but the truth is there are not very many jobs left. There are not many papers that have beat writers anymore. No, nobody has beat writers. Nobody, it used to be you'd have 5 or 6 guys.
The majority of these guys getting laid off are the beat writers.
Right, because you don't need them anymore.
But not for printed newspaper.
For their beat writers for ESPN, right?
Right.
But you still don't need them for ESPN now. Because
how do you get the inside stuff? You're at the thing
you don't
every
get
day.
the inside stuff because people don't care about the inside stuff. 10 the people
Following
that are
the team every day.
they're
day in,
embedded
day out.
with the team every day. Like in baseball.
Those are the guys that are getting laid off.
Right, because they're not useful anymore. Because they're not the story. The story is not an everyday occurrence like it used to be. Because of this, I don't need that guy anymore. You know why I don't need him? Because all I need is some guy in the research booth who can search the video and find the video of the highlights and feed them to my anchor guy.
No, I totally. What?
Because beforehand, in order for a team like say Tampa, the Rays are traveling. The Rays are traveling, and they're outside of the zone where you would have normal coverage. Mm-hmm. So you didn't have them. If it was game of the week, of course the Rays weren't around back then, but if they were, then you'd have to have a writer writing the story to send it back in, so you'd know it every night because there were no highlights of the game. If they were playing in Atlanta, you might get them on TBS. But if they were playing in Chicago or they were playing
is it the fact, and is it the fact, Bob, that the stories and what we talk about is the national story and that's all anyone talks about, so we don't get the stuff on, whether it's the Marlins or the Braves or the Rays here or whatever. I guarantee you the word Mitch Trubisky has been said 5,000 times more than Mike Trout.
Right.
Or than Eric Thames, who's got 11 home runs to start the season. Substance, something that's going on right now.
I think that's part of it. I think with the advent of social media, the fans have become more fragmented in a way, or secluded because you focus more on your team, whereas where it was, say, 25 or 30 years ago before, or 15 years ago before Facebook blew up and social media exploded, you had more of a national. You didn't have access to, like what Eddie said, you'd have access to go on the internet. What's happening?
Is part of it, if I want to know what you're doing right now, the fact that I'm waiting for some writer to write about it, or the fact that you can sit there and I follow you and I know what's going on in your personal life more than any writer can give me?
Well, not only that, that's true too. There's instant access, and players are controlling more of the dialogue about themselves.
Right.
So that they're pushing their own narrative, so they don't have to have a beat writer write about them. They either look good or they look bad based on their Twitter or Instagram account and Facebook account. And I think also one of the things is PR guys. If you were in the place right now, you'd either be doing it or you'd have an intern or you'd have somebody in your thing writing Twitter, social media. Everything would be pushing out through that. So you have instant things about what's happening with the game. So if I'm a fan of the Braves, I can know what's happening at every Braves game by following the Atlanta Braves Twitter, and I can know it as soon as it happens. I don't have to wait.
You didn't. And I remember the story. You didn't have to wait until the next morning until the paper came out.
That's right. And
because you could get it at SportsCenter at 11. Now you don't need to wait until SportsCenter.
ESPN. Well, the demise of ESPN has begun because there's no need for that anymore. I mean, there's a generic need for it if you want to watch it and kill some time, but you're not going to have to worry about having ESPN. And ESPN itself has shot itself, in my opinion, in the foot by putting all their eggs in the NFL basket. They don't. It's not about baseball, football, baseball, basketball, other sports. They are so football oriented. I don't need ESPN anymore. Right. I have no need for it. I can watch MLB
and there's so much repetition of what's going on.
Over and over.
And you can go online. That's the other thing. You can go online to your favorite team or MLB.
But those guys are getting laid off, all the online.
Well, it's because you don't need all of those people anymore. You need one guy who's sitting there who's doing the research.
But don't you think something is lost, though, in the I know we're running out of time, but the guy who was the beat reporter for the Braves or the Marlins, whoever, that guy, say 75 years ago, when Babe Ruth or when Jackie Robinson was playing, and the guy traveled with the team for the paper. To me, that there's something about losing that doesn't help the game.
But he wrote. But that guy's also, from stories I heard from the old guys, the beat writers had certain things they were not allowed to do.
Sure.
Oh, absolutely.
They had certain things that were off limits. They could not write. They could not do it.
Well,
and what happened is when the game sensationalized, the beat writers wanted to be guys like Skip Bayless, who wanted to be the sensational guy, and so they would print stuff they shouldn't print, and the players started saying, "Nah, we're not letting you travel with us anymore."
Yep.
And I saw that happen. I mean, you would sit there, and certain guys were off limits, certain guys the guys wouldn't talk, but again, in bigger cities in the New Yorks. I saw it, you know, when you're St. Louis was the best place because the St. Louis Post-Dispatch was the PR department of the St. Louis Cardinals. I mean, bottom line. And the writers, he grew up a Cardinals fan. His dream was one day to write for that and everything, you know, for the Cardinals, and he did. He got the job with the paper, and then he'd write what the people wanted to write. Then you go to a place like L.A., where it's three guys, the Daily News, the L.A. Times, the Orange County Register. They're competing, and I want to get the information. And those guys used to go together to each guy's locker, and I'm like, why doesn't he go over there and get something that the other guys aren't?
Because he might miss that
He
quote.
might
Exactly
miss that.
right.
If it's in the other two papers and he doesn't have
Exactly
it,
right.
he's getting chewed out the next morning. So you live by fear and you live that kind of life and everything like that. And now, and I guess this is where I'm at, and nothing could be farther from. So I don't want to sit there and say this is a possibility because my son, Danny, he enjoys baseball, but he could care less about what other people are doing, much less report on what other people are doing.
That's right.
But if Danny all of a sudden says, you know, I want to be a sports writer, what do you? No.
No.
That's where we're headed.
And
There are no
sorry.
sports writers, only faces. We're really
I
out
know
of
we're
time.
out of time. Okay.
But you can edit because this is good.
It is
Only
good.
faces.
Well, one last thing, because what you were just saying about faces.
Right. Only faces. I mean, you know, the people that are recognized are faces. The people who have the gift to write and tell a story, they're getting pushed out every day. And what used to be the fact of is you have to tell the story of a game to keep readers engaged in the print. Mm-hmm. Now it's not about the print. It's about the video and the image. And so you don't need the guy to write the story because you can show the story. And so you don't need
So
writers.
reading like Dan Lebitard is one of the best writers, and it got him the job he's got.
Right.
And every now and then he'll write a column, and it's great.
It's great,
stuff.
but that's not what got him. I mean, that's maybe what got him on TV, but that's not what ESPN wants. ESPN wants him to be the face, the Stugatz with his dad, and they want to have that shtick, and that's what it is. It's shtick. It's comedy and entertainment, and it's not.
Is that
sports
happening?
report.
Let's take it out of the realm, and because I think, is that happening in literature? Period. Because I don't want to say my daughter spends her time reading all the time books. She loves to read.
I don't
So
think
is not writing.
But papers are suffering. Papers are going the way of the dinosaur.
Yeah.
The local hometown papers are being replaced. They're only being produced 2 or 3 days a week or on the weekend now. The daily paper is gone. The daily column is gone. And
The morning paper followed by the afternoon paper.
right, yeah,
That was before our
and my
time.
dad was in that business, and so he would not recognize it today the way it is. And that's just the way of the world has gone, with the transmission of information being more screen driven and less print driven.
Do you think also with the advent of social media and the explosion we've seen in the last 10 years that there are more journalists today who aren't qualified?
Well, we are. I mean,
We are.
I know, that's where I was
we can
going.
get. We
Well,
can
we're
get
qualified.
past-
We're qualified.
Well, I don't know about qualified.
But what I'm
we think
saying
we are.
is you don't see
You
see
are,
a guy in
Wes,
print.
We're none of us are
You don't
qualified.
see a guy in print like you said about the paper or even on online. All these blogs is where I was going.
Right.
All these people have all these blogs. Well, I've said this before. The internet has inflated people's opinion of their self-worth, of what their opinion is worth.
Right.
Whereas
Well,
your opinion's
and
worth-
it's interesting because you just brought back and this is probably as
We got 3
long
shows.
We need to
ago-
wrap that up.
As long ago as
We go next
99,
week.
2000, when people started asking for credentials to cover a game, and for us to give them a credential to come in the press box, be on the field, and whatever, and who are you on with 3-ball walk? Okay.
Dude, laugh at us.
What?
They would
No,
laugh.
but then we used to.
Now
I
they have
actually
to. They
had
have
some.
to go look at
I
it.
actually had someone in the office, and this is 17 years ago, who would sit there and see, is this person legitimate? And we had to. And at the time, we said, if all they're doing is a website, then we're not going to give them a credential. And now
Now you
that's
have
where-
to, because so much of it online. Hey, we have got to go, but we'll continue this
Wild Beast
discussion
Feast.
next week.
Great stuff. Wild Beast Feast, Westside Baptist Church, May 6th. Just, hey, go to 3-Ball Walk on Facebook, say, I need a ticket, and we'll take care of you.
Got it. Have a great week. Play ball.
Play ball.